And yes, that is the end of the game. Hands are being shaken. The game is over. Well, it was, the result ended up being just as I suggested that it was going to be a draw, but it certainly didn't turn out in the way that would have been expected. Instead, it's come down to a thrilling ending. A few things. First of all, the first surprise came when Diamond Creek were able to take a number of wickets in the opening session, and so then over the course of the second session, and then they were able to take even more wickets, so that play got extended and lunch delayed. So that's the first thing that's surprising, because when you looked at what happened last week, there were only 2 wickets that fell off 20-something overs, so 1 wicket every 10 overs, which is not a lot. And so if that trend continued, Diamond Creek would not be able to take enough wickets to actually bowl out Mernda, and then Mernda might even bat out most or all of the entire day's play, and then Diamond Creek would only have like 10 overs to bat, and they might as well just call the game off from there. But instead of that happening, Diamond Creek were able to put up a bowling performance much better than what would have been reasonably expected. And so they were able to put themselves in a position where they knew that if they took more wickets and they actually bowled out Mernda, then they could have a winnable run chase on their hands. So the first surprise came through Diamond Creek bowling better than expected, and in the end, Mernda getting bowled out for a, well, Mernda losing 9 wickets, let's say. Mernda losing 9 wickets for a very small score, and the possibility of a Diamond Creek run chase was definitely on the cards. But you'd have to say that the result was determined by that final partnership. That final partnership of Mernda's, which not only lasted a long time, but ate up a lot of runs. So let's find that partnership and I can explain it all. So, here we go. The 9th wicket fell with the score at 100 in the 61.3 over mark. So 61.3, 9 for 100. The 10th wicket fell 72. Okay, so the 9th wicket fell at the 60.3 over mark. 60.3. 9 for 100. The final wicket fell at 72.2. So 12 overs, more or less. It took up 12 overs, and it involved the scoring of 32 runs, all out for 132. When you if you added on those 12 overs, then Diamond Creek would have needed to score 133 off 42 overs. And also, Mernda could have taken 10 wickets off 42 overs. So, I don't know whether Diamond Creek would have approached their batting in a different way. Whether they would have been more conservative, more precise, because they knew that the required run rate was so low. But in the end, the game was decided through that final wicket partnership, because it meant that it ate up so much of the day's play and of the game that it meant that neither Diamond Creek could score the winning runs, nor did Mernda have enough time in the day to take the 10 wickets. So, ironically, Mernda might think that that final wicket partnership of theirs cost them their own game, because it meant that there wasn't enough time for a victory. But anyway, that's what you would have to say. But other than that, that final wicket partnership, Mernda more or less didn't bowl well. Diamond Creek bowled very well. Mernda batted very poorly and lost a number of wickets. Diamond Creek bowled very well. Were able to take a bunch of wickets in the first session and then a bunch more in the second session to extend play. And it was the extension of play period which the final wicket partnership took place. And so if maybe Diamond Creek were not prepared mentally or physically for that extra half an hour of bowling when they would have expected to go to the lunch break, and so they just weren't prepared for it, because if you look at the actual play of the first 20 overs and the second 20 overs, they bowled magnificently, and it's that extra 10 overs added on which really cost them in terms of their bowling became less accurate, there was less intensity, there was more misfields, everything just seemed to fall apart over the course of those 10 overs or 12 overs which that final partnership involved. And then Diamond Creek's batting. So the thing is, both teams did not bat very well in this game. It looked reasonably comfortable at 2 for 50 coming into today's play, that there might be a chance of scoring something in the 200s for Mernda. And then they were bowled out cheaply. And then Diamond Creek ending up 8 for 60 something, which is a appalling batting display. And they only just got out of this game by surviving out the time, not by scoring the runs. They fell way behind their target of actually trying to win this game. So in the end, no one has come off really with any prizes in the batting department, but both Mernda and Diamond Creek bowlers have put up some very useful performances that give a shining light to what can be expected of this league of cricket. And if you can recall what I said in the pre-game show last week, I said that the difference between these two teams is that they've both got good bowling attacks. Both Diamond Creek and Mernda have good bowling attacks, but Diamond Creek has not got as many runs on the board. Mernda had a couple of games through the home and away season in the 2017 part of this home and away season where they scored big scores. One was against only Bundoora United, but another one was reasonably good. A couple of half centuries and 1 century. Meanwhile, Diamond Creek had basically had all bowling friendly games throughout their home and away season, and they have barely any of their players have scored half centuries this season, let alone centuries. And so when you looked at the statistics of the two teams as they came into this game, you'd say both teams are evenly matched in the bowling department. Maybe Mernda is a bit better in bowling, but you would say that Diamond Creek's lack of batting means that they really don't have the real run-making capacity to scoring something huge like a 200 score. And in the end, it didn't exactly unfold in the way that I suggested, although in a certain sense it did, because in the end Diamond Creek's batting was woefully bad, in the end being 8 for 60 something, no one really surviving for a long time. All of their established batsmen going out through ill-disciplined shots, a variety of bad shots. Some just not paying a close enough attention to the ball, others picking the wrong stroke, and in the end it was just a very ugly display of poor batting and definitely when you think about how badly Diamond Creek batted, they deserved to be 8 for 64 because sometimes you can bat badly and get runs, sometimes you can bat well and still go out. But this was a case of Diamond Creek batting poorly and losing wickets, and 8 for 64, 8 for 60, whatever it was definitely the score that Diamond Creek deserved in terms of how they batted. Mernda should be reasonably disappointed with how they batted today, particularly if you discount the last wicket partnership, which was worth 32, and then what happened last week, which they ended up with 2 for 52. And remember that the second wicket of that 2 for 52 came just around near the drinks break, which means if you if you count, let's say it was 1 for 40 something, let's just count that. So 40 runs with 1 wicket lost in the opening partnership, then 1 wicket lost for 32 runs in the last wicket partnership. So in the middle there is 40 runs for 8 wickets. That was the middle order of the Mernda team this round, and that really is an indication of just both how badly they batted in that middle order period, which happened today in both the first and second sessions, and then how well Diamond Creek bowled. I mean, I have seen a few games for Diamond Creek to the second team in the B grade over the course of this season, and I've never seen them bowl this well. It was a really terrific bowling performance. They should be really proud of themselves, Diamond Creek. They've put up something really good. They were very well disciplined until that final wicket partnership, but those 40 overs from the start of the day's play through the drinks break to the scheduled lunch, that was an excellent bowling performance for Diamond Creek. They should be very proud of what they've done. Very proud. So, in the end, we have a result that was expected. Now, we will have to wait until tonight when the other results are tallied up to see if there were any results that actually give away the points. But for now, we can say that Mernda have a draw, and so they are likely to stay in the finals, if not in the top 2. And Diamond Creek are not going to be able to get into the finals at this stage. And so we have to move on to the next round to see what Diamond Creek can actually come up with in order to try to get back into the top 4. Because like I said, there's only a 3 rounds to go. There is not that much time left, and Diamond Creek are currently in 5th place, and they need to find a way to get themselves back into the 4. How that will happen is up in the air, and we'll just have to see. Okay, let's take a break now, and then when we come back, we will have the final wrap up of the game, and then we'll say goodbye. So, this is Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am Chukka Wilson. I have been your lead host, your lead commentator, and I am the managing producer of sports production both at Channel 8 and at Bizz. So don't go away. We've got a short break now, and then we come back, we'll have a quick summary of the entire game.
The last bus is leaving, and you're on the curb. You wanted to run, but you're lacking the nerve. In motionless standing, you can't find a word. The taillights are fading, your feet on the ground. Your bags like an anchor are weighing you down. You're more to the future, you're stuck in this town. left, and I'm standing alone with a numbness that's lingering deep in my bones. It looks like you're gonna be coming back home. And there for a moment we're caught in a stare. The city just stops while it hangs in the air. I once would have saved you, but now I don't care. So I turn around and go. When I turn around
Alright, so let's do the final wrap up of this game before saying goodbye for this week. And we won't see you again for a week until next game. So, Diamond Creek versus Mernda here at the Coventry Oval for what was scheduled to be a 2-day game. So, Mernda batting first, and a wicket fell in the very first over. It was none for 2, and then it was a slow and gentle build-up, and eventually the score was 1 for 39 after 17 overs. And then the second wicket fell, so it was 2 for 39 just before the drinks break. Then they took the drinks break, they came back, and the score reached 53 after 22.4 overs before the rain came. And of course the rain was heavy enough that it was able to force the players off the ground. So the rain had been going for the previous 10 or so minutes, maybe 5 minutes, and it was just a spitting drizzle, but then it picked up in intensity and eventually it reached the point where play could not continue, so the umpire directed everyone off. And then through the course of the afternoon, players were watching and waiting and seeing if the rain would go away, but it stayed around, it kept going, and in the end the umpire had to rush off in the rain to pull the stumps out, and the players ended up having to put their stuff back in their car in the rain, and Channel 8 had to pack up their stuff in the rain as well, because even after the day's play was called off, there was still no let up from the rain. It was still coming down, and in the end you just had to try to sort out your business through the rain, and it just kept coming. So in the end, the rain ending the day's play with just 22 overs. And of course that mark was interesting because it was enough play had been lost that compulsory closure was now no longer in effect, but it was almost so little play that you could have almost called off the round and said that next round was a one-day game. The DVCA could have done that, just to declare, look, so much play has been lost, they're like, we were just going to have one-day games, but they decided to stick with their guns, and they decided to allow the two-day game to play. And so we came here today to see the second day of the game. And almost immediately, wickets started to fall for Diamond Creek, and you should notice that the run rate for Mernda after when the rain came was about, you know, 2 and a bit, 2 and a third, 2 and a half, around that area. It was not going to increase from there. So the third wicket fell with the score at 58, and then there was a long and good partnership which lasted about 8 overs. It scored about 10 runs, but then another wicket fell and it went to 69 for 4, and then a couple of overs later there was another wicket, 72 for 5, and then a couple of maidens later and a couple of overs, and then 76 for 6, and then that was it for a long time. So 76 for 6. That really gives you a sense of how well Diamond Creek bowled in that opening session. That it was 76 for 6 after the 39th over. So that is about 16 overs of just great bowling to take 4 wickets, conceding just 20-something runs. And that was the point. That was the point in which the momentum and the shift, the momentum of the game changed, and the context of the game changed. Because up until then, you could have argued that the draw was the most likely event to occur, and it would have taken a remarkable performance for something else to happen. But with those 4 wickets to fall for 20-something runs, suddenly Diamond Creek were in a position where they could have thought, okay, how are we going to take these last 4 wickets to have a run chase? Suddenly all the focus and attention and the strength and the point of controlling the game and directing what was happening belonged to Diamond Creek. And so that's when they could have, then the game was no longer a draw unless something amazing happens. The question is, can Diamond Creek continue on from where they're going and continue their journey and actually finish it off and actually bowl Mernda out and chase these runs down? And that's about when the drinks break happened. So the drinks break was 81 for 6. And then play resumed afterwards, and it was very, very slow going. Diamond Creek were not overly aggressive, but they were reasonably aggressive, and they weren't afraid of bowling balls wide outside the off stump and encouraging the Mernda batsmen to leave them alone in order to build up lots of dot ball pressure. And so it was a really good combination by the Captain Williams of, on the one hand, aggressive attacking fielders, but on the other hand, fielders saving one on the ring, so there was plenty and plenty of dot balls. There were not that many runs, and there was plenty of opportunities of getting wickets if some good bowling did come about. And that continued on for quite some time, until it was after the halfway mark of the second session. So there'd been 30 overs, more than 30 overs bowled in the day, before the next wicket fell. And the partnership had ploddled and waddled and slowly crept up. And it got up into the 90s. And then that's when things changed again. So going from, what was it before? So the 76 for 6, and then you add on the 14 runs that came off something like 15 overs. and the score was then 7 for 90. And the run rate was now less than 2. There'd been 33 overs bowled in the day, 55 overs in total for Mernda's innings. And so, yeah, so it was 76 for 6 after 39, and then it was 90 for 7 after 55. So it was 16 overs, basically conceding 1 run over, lots of maidens, the game was not moving, Mernda were in trouble, and the momentum and the control, the entire game was in the cards of Diamond Creek. Then we saw some more wickets. We saw after it was 90 for 7, then another wicket fell. It was 93 for 6. 90 for 7, and then 93 for 8. So 93 for 8, and then 100 for 9 in the 61st over. So taking that, so there was that long partnership of 16 overs, and then 3 wickets in the course of about half an hour. So suddenly they'd gone from taking half the Mernda team to almost finishing the job. So it was 100 for 9 after 61, and that was when there had been 39 overs bowled in the day's play, which is just about the scheduled lunchtime, but the umpires decided that because it's 9 wickets down and the possibility of ending the innings, they needed to continue on, and they did. They didn't just play a little bit, but they kept going. So they ended up playing till the 51st over. So there were 11 extra overs added to the innings, and in that time the score went from 9 for 100 to all out for 132. So not only were they were scoring at nearly 3 runs and over, so they were scoring quickly, and they weren't losing that last wicket. And that was when the wheels came off Diamond Creek. They started misfielding, they started bowling poorly, everything started to fall apart, things were not going the way that they wanted. And that's, like I said earlier, that's really where the context of the game changed. It went from Diamond Creek being in the driver's seat to actually win this game. They went from pole position, and then so much time was eaten up. Those 12 overs really ate into the game, and then it just became, there was just not enough time in the game for Diamond Creek to win. There was not enough time in the game for Mernda to take all the wickets, and Mernda had too large of a score that it could have been chased down, and so the draw became the most likely event thanks to that last wicket partnership. But it was all out for 132. And then in Diamond Creek's response, everything went well. Not only did everything go well in terms of not losing any wickets, but they were scoring at the required run rate. So after 7 overs, the score was 30. So going at 4 runs and over, going at the required run rate, more or less, none were wickets down. And so it was almost a 20-20 game at this point, where they only needed 100 runs. So that's how good the opening partnership was. And it involved 3 boundaries. So excellent start for Diamond Creek. But then everything changed. The 8th over onwards was a remarkable swing of momentum. A wicket maiden, a double wicket maiden. The score went from 30 for no loss to 30 for 4. Then there was an attempt to rebuild a partnership that lasted 5 overs. But then, so the score went from 30 for 4 to 40 for 4, and then suddenly another whack. 2 wickets in 3 balls. The score was now 42 for 6. with still 14 overs left in the game. And so suddenly there'd been a remarkable change of events where Diamond Creek went from being a position where can they chase down these runs? Do they now have enough time in the day to chase down these runs, to suddenly being a question of Mernda being in prime position to say, do we have enough time in the day to take the remaining wickets to win the game? And so it was those 4 overs, those 3 overs, that involved taking 4 wickets that basically changed the game entirely. And then it was those 2 wickets in the 16th over which went from 4 down to 6 down, and so now it was a question of can Mernda win this game. So now it's a question of can Mernda win this game, 42 for 6, with half the innings still to play. Well, there was quite a successful 7th wicket partnership, which took the score from 42 to 64. So adding an extra 20 runs and taking up 10 overs, which was the game saver for Diamond Creek, which ensured that Diamond Creek were not going to lose this game. It was that 7th wicket partnership. The score went up to 64 for 6, but then there were 2 wickets that fell in the 26th over. 2 wickets that fell in the 26th over, which took the score to 64 for 8. So that is when the last gasp for Mernda was there, where they thought, this is our last tiny little sliver of hope of actually being able to win this game. It went from needing 4 wickets in 4 overs to needing the 2 wickets in 4 overs. So when it was still remarkably unlikely, but at least it had some sort of level of possibility. And then we saw those final 4 overs where the tail were able to bat it down, and in the end Diamond Creek did not lose another wicket, 69 for 8. So they were able to hold on, Diamond Creek. They were able to defend and save the game, and so it would have been the most horrifically embarrassing situation if Diamond Creek had gone from a situation where they could have won this game to losing it, to actually losing it. And we have seen some performances in this season of especially Diamond Creek not performing well enough to save games and to actually not have the mettle and the concentration to actually bat through a difficult period. Thankfully this time they did come through and they did save the game, unlike the previous occasions we've seen over the course of this season. And so that's just about the end of my summary. You'd have to say, on the one hand, a terrific opportunity to win this game was thrown away. Diamond Creek were going at 4 runs and over, had 30 runs on the board, needing about 100 runs from 20 overs. That is very doable. That is very possible to do. And they had 10 wickets in hand. And in the end, they failed to get to not only they failed to advance to the next step. They failed to take this to the next gear, to actually go on the attack, to actually try and chase these runs down. Instead, they allowed themselves to play some dumb shots, allowed to fall into the traps that were being set for them and lose wickets, and then playing dumb shots like playing across the line. And in the end, they threw away their advantage. They were in a great position to win this game, and they gave it all away through bad play and bad cricket. And it's very disappointing to say, because it would have been remarkably terrific to see Diamond Creek win this game. I was hoping that we could see a real good Diamond Creek comeback after their poor performances in the December and November period over the 2017 period, over to the year of 2017. They would start 2018 with a really good win, and could have been really exciting, but that didn't happen. Instead, we saw them lose a whole bunch of wickets and just barely scrape over the line. It's only because of that last wicket partnership taking those extra 12 overs out of the game that they actually had, there was actually enough time, there was not enough time for them to lose those 2 wickets. And so, there are plenty of good things to take away for Diamond Creek, especially in the bowling department. And that 7th wicket partnership and the 1st wicket partnership were pretty good. But other than that, Diamond Creek have to really start examining what they're actually doing. Why were they unable to actually launch an assault, actually try and chase down this target? And in the end, the catcher became the catchee, the hunter became the hunted, and suddenly Mernda flipped around from being desperately trying to save the game to being in a position to win the game. And now that has to be asked. Why did we lose 4 wickets in 3 overs and then 2 more wickets in another over? Why were the batsmen unable to build up an innings and actually get themselves started, and instead we kept losing wicket after wicket after wicket so quickly? That has to be asked. That has to be dealt with. But we'll have to worry about that next round. And I'm afraid that is the end of this broadcast. I have well and truly discussed this game. There is just nothing more that needs to be said now. I've exhausted all the different analyses that need to be done. So, it's time to say goodbye. And I hope to see you next game for Channel 8. So, we were here at the Coventry Oval in Diamond Creek to watch day 2 of round 9 in the B grade of the 2017-18 season, which was Diamond Creek versus Mernda. You have been watching Channel 8, the local sports network, in association with our partners, Bizz 99.9 FM Substitute Radio. I am Chukka Wilson. I have been your lead commentator, your host, and I am also the managing producer of sports production here at Channel 8. Thank you very much for watching this broadcast, and I hope to see you again next time for when Channel 8 broadcasts a game of cricket. Until next time, it's time to say goodbye. Take care. We'll see you in 7 days' time for the next round.
Barometric pressure is increasing, but it's still below the levels that we see in winter storms. We're up by 13 millibars from where we were before, and it weakens as it moves in from the shore. Please, Carol, let me talk, 'cause I got something to say. Oh please, Carol, let me talk. Oh. Won't you let me do my job? I'm trying to explain that once the pressure builds, the storm will fizzle out. I'm sorry if your feeble brain can't follow what I say, but I have dumbed this down as far as I will go. So please, let me talk, 'cause I got something to say. Oh please, Carol, let me talk. Oh, it might not take a weatherman to know which way the wind blows, or to tell you that it's sunny in Palm Springs. But that's not why I'm here. Yeah, I went to school for years so that I could tell you more about these things. Please, Carol, let me talk, 'cause I got something to say. Oh please, Carol, just let me talk. Oh, Carol, let me talk, 'cause I got something to say. Oh please, oh please, oh please, just let me talk. I don't wanna be in Findlay 'cause it goes to bed at 9. I don't wanna be in Bowling Green because it's plastered all the time. I don't wanna be in Lima 'cause there's nothing there to do. I just wanna spend some time with you. I don't wanna be in Cincy 'cause it smells like burning tires. I don't wanna be in Cleveland 'cause the lake will catch on fire. I don't wanna be in Dayton, not without a 22. I just wanna spend some time with you. Oh, well, it's so damn hard to find a reason to stay in this infuriating place, but it's harder still to find a reason to leave. Oh, I don't wanna be in New York 'cause it's buried under crime. I don't wanna be in Portland where it's raining all the time. I don't wanna be in San Francisco in the early morning dew. I just wanna spend some time with you. I don't wanna be in London 'cause the skies are always gray. I don't wanna be in Paris 'cause I don't parle no français. I don't wanna be in China with a horrifying flu. I just wanna spend some time with you. Oh, it's a rainy Sunday morning in Van Buren. The pious folks all scurry into church. We watch them trudge through the mud and sludge. I guess this place could be a whole lot worse. They say the grass is always greener on the other side of the county line, but I'll just stay. Brown grass is pretty anyway, 'cause I just wanna spend some time with